Go. All right, so welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Brianna Whiteside, and today I'm going to be chatting with Rae'Jean Spears, a master's student at Southern Illinois University, about her journeys migrating from an Hbcu to a PWI. So Rae'Jean, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy, really, to have you. I'm looking forward to this conversation. So let's just jump right in. Can you tell us about yourself, who you are, and how you got to this point of your academic career?
Of course, yeah. So again, my name is Rae'Jean Spears, and I am a master's candidate right now at SIUE in English, literature specialty. I come from Tougaloo College, which is a very, very, very small HBCU in the Deep South, and SIUE is in the Midwest. My academic journey thus far, I went to an all-Black high school. All Black. It was called a city school, all Black school, and I wanted to go to a PWI for my undergraduate career, and thankfully someone steered me to go to an HBCU instead, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I got to an HBCU, and I kind of decided in my junior year that I did not want to go to graduate school. Actually, I wanted to push back against the establishment of the academy as we know it. And I got to December of my senior year, and I was like, just kidding. I think I may need an extra degree. So I decided to reach out to people that I knew, like Brianna, and I got plugged in with people, and I ended up at SIUE, which is where I am now.
Okay. Sounds good. So you went straight from Tougaloo. And so what's really good about Rae'Jean's connection and my connection is that we did the same journey. We both came from Tougaloo in the Department of English, and I got my master's at Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, in the Department of English. And so we had the same mentor then, and we might have had the same mentor at Tougaloo. I'm not sure who your mentor.
Dr. Freeman?
So we had the same mentors both times, so that's really cool. That's a double win because she's gonna be sharp. All right, so let me ask you this, Rae'Jean. At HBCUs, there are discussions about race in the classroom, right? But largely, I believe that students in a lot of ways are shielded from its true impact because you're at a historical Black college. If any, in what ways did you become aware of your body once you were at a PWI that you didn't notice before?
So I would have to say that I was aware of my body at an HBCU, but I think that at a PWI, it has taught me how whiteness sometimes views Black bodies as a monolith, like as a representation of a whole. And I've never had to be the Black woman who is the Black woman of all Black women, period. So I feel like whereas Tougaloo kind of forced me to think about myself beyond my race and beyond my gender, because there were so many sharp Black women at SIUE, you kind of just get biased being like the Black woman. And so it makes you look at yourself almost as if like you are, like I said, the representation of Black women, or some kind of caricature or some kind of trope for like the Black race in general. So I've been very aware just of like things that I say, what I wear, spaces that I hang out in, because I know that people are watching me saying, hey, look at this Black woman. Like we need to look at her to see what Black women are. Right. So
I think that's really cool that you mentioned what you wear, right? We both have this natural hair. We both, I mean, I'm pretty sure when I was at Tougaloo, we had the What's Up Wednesday, and that's when you're gonna, you're gonna have your heels on, you're gonna try to walk the campus. And I don't know if you had this experience, but I did. I tried to walk the campus at SIUE in some heels, and I was like, this is not.
Yes.
It's like everyone's looking at me like, where are you going? You know, and I'm suited and booted, trying to be fly. Like, tell me about that. Did you do that? Did you experience that?
Yes, I have. And thankfully I had like some flat shoes in my bag because I changed by the time I made it to the office. But yes, there's a very just, I don't want to say lack of care for appearance, but things that students wear at SIUE would not have flown, or like would not have gotten away with that at Tougaloo College. And so, you know, I work with first year Black students at SIUE, and I find myself sometimes getting so aggravated, like, what are you wearing? You can't come up here in pajama pants and, you know, hoodies and gym clothes. Like, this is unacceptable. So it has been hard, and I guess I've toned down my dress a little bit, but still to an extent. Like, people always say, oh, Rae'Jean, she's going to always have on something. Like, I've not worn jeans one time to campus this semester, but it's on purpose. And I'm like, if I'm going to be that Black woman in this Black space, especially for first-year Black students, I want to make sure that I am representing what I can to the best of my ability. So clothing is a big thing for me, at least.
And I find that for Black women in general, fashion, the way we present ourselves in different spaces, especially when it comes to this when it comes to this hair, that I remember one time, and this is not on what we're supposed to be talking about, but I remember this one time I wrote this blog on my hair being unkempt, and a white woman actually was like, I've never seen your hair like that before. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I was just going natural, so you have for me, all the insecurities are just starting to rise. And I was like, I had this straight hair, and they used to say I looked like Michelle Obama when my hair was straight. And I was like, that used to be my glory. And then I had this woman say, I've never seen your hair unkempt before. And I was shocked. I was like, I didn't know, what to say, because I was still trying to embrace this thing in this space of mine. And I was just like, this is really a thing. This is something that you have to really live. And so I was completely shocked, but I didn't have that experience in the Black school, because, everybody like, well, not everybody, but some people are like, I like your hair. Like, that's cool. And it's acceptable. And then you move into other spaces and you become aware of it. So, I've noticed, I follow you on Instagram, and so you always either have the braids, you got the natural, you got the crochet, like,
yes.
You gotta get it together. And I really believe that that's so important, especially for Black women, if we're trying to encourage other younger Black women to come into this profession, to be like us in a lot of ways. I feel that we have to present ourselves in a certain type of way.
Yes.
Appeal to them, So I can't tell you to be like me or come join this profession and I don't appeal to you aesthetically, right?
Absolutely. And I felt like when I was an undergrad, I would go to graduate conferences, and I always felt like the Black women, I would be like, what's going on? Because at Tougaloo, I was around very sharp, stylish Black women who were like they were a very cognizant of like their appearance and like what they wore. And I feel like at conferences, I never saw Black women who I was like, oh, that's cute, or what she has on. Like it always seemed like Black women kind of like neglected their appearance. And I would talk to people about it, and they would say, well, like, the prettier you are, people don't take you as seriously. And that to me is even a barrier, because I don't feel like my scholarship is less because I have on lipstick, or I'm wearing a skirt, or I'm putting some more attention into like my fashion choices for the day.
Yeah.
So that was a really big thing for me to be like, to represent and say, hey, you can be both a scholar and have a sense of style. Like that is okay.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because I kind of noticed the same thing for when I was thinking about graduate school, becoming a PhD student. I was kind of like, some people aren't really fly, and I'm kind of interested in that. And so I made it my goal to be both and, right? To be serious, to be productive, but also to look nice, also to take, pride in how I present myself. And so I'm probably the one that they be looking like, oh, you went to a fashion. That's fine, but that's fine, because that is part of branding yourself as a scholar, as an academic, right? It's all about branding. And so we got completely off topic. But that's okay. We're coming back. We're bringing it back because we're talking about community next, and that's what's important. So community in a large sense has been said to either help or hinder individuals' progress. At your new institution, were there already established communities for people of color? Do you utilize them, or what?
Yes, and yes. I would not have come to SIUE actually if that was not there. That was one of the major reasons why I was hesitant about going to graduate school, was that not having any community there. I remember when I visited SIUE back in February, my current mentor now, he like walked me around and like, he's like, hey, this is this sister, this is this sister, this is this brother, this is the home girl. And I was like, okay. I kind of could get it. And so, like, on my visit, I was introduced to so many, like, you know, Black people, and I was told that I was working with first year Black students. And so that really, really appealed to me, that I could have that. And so, like, when I'm in classes that are all white, and I'm the only person who is Black in the class, it's comforting to know that I can go and email my mentor, I can call someone, or that I spend, like, my entire day in the SOAR office, which is the office for Black students. So that has been crucial to me, I guess, to kind of be able to unpack, or to say this thing was said in class that was crazy or like off the wall, or that has been really, really critical to me. I think that I've learned that in wanting the PhD, I will not go anywhere where there is not, where my mentor is not Black, or there is not a sense of community already established, because I would not, you know, thrive in that kind of environment, period. So it's definitely.
That's really what I find a lot of people thinking about graduate school don't consider. And they don't think it's a part of your success, but it really is. And I don't think I considered it until I got into the master's program, and I had two sister scholars who were already in there. Both of them were a year ahead of me, and they, you know, they helped me through. And so then when I got to my school right now, the University of Alabama, what really appealed to me is that there were either 9 or 12 Black women in the Department of English when I entered, 4 of which were faculty.
Wow.
And so it was very unusual. And I mean, they weren't just like literature, they were creative writing, they were composition rhetoric, they were poets, they were all of these other things, but we were all able to come and form a sense of community and, you know, just say, hey, look, go in the office and close the door. Look.
Yes.
You know, like, this thing is happening. And so that's what set this school that I'm at apart from the other schools that I were considering, because there were such a large number, and it was unusually large, of Black women together. And so, like, for me to be as successful or as productive as I've been in the PhD, I really think I have to attribute some of that to the sense of community that I had access to, right? And so I'm so glad you said that. And so shout out to SIUE. Right, shout out to SIUE in English. Let me say that, because, you know, I talked to my brother and he had a different story. So, you know, y'all at the same school, but because he's in communications in English, and it was already that establishment in English, you have a better experience, which I'm grateful for. So this is just an aside. How do the Black women students respond to you?
So at first I felt like a little bit of hostility. I think that I think that I'm a different type of Black woman, because I come from an HBCU, and there's a different, I guess, type of mindset, or how my identity has been shaped is very different than those individuals who maybe went to SIUE for undergraduate. So at first there was, I felt like, anyway, a little bit of hostility up, but as time went on, I thought up to the first month, it was better. There's actually only one other Black woman in the program. And thankfully I met her when I visited. So that was great that, like, we had already kind of met anyway, but I can't tell that, like, there was, at least at first, a disconnect, you know. And then I haven't met any other Black women who are in the graduate school at SIUE. So okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so what are some things that you wish your former school would have done to prepare you for your time at SIUE, if anything? So honestly, I don't feel like they could have done anything more. Again, I said it before, but I had very sharp Black women in my program at Tougaloo, 2 specifically, who were just phenomenal with me, I'm very close to. And so when we began talking about graduate school, they were very candid about their experiences dealing with both professors and their classmates, or their colleagues in graduate school. So I knew going in that I was going to be faced with some difficulties based upon the stories that they had shared with me. And I think, if anything, I feel like they did prepare me, as far as they always encouraged my voice. So they were always people who said, don't agree with me. My mentor, she would say, this is my opinion. What's your opinion? Don't tell me what I said. Tell me what you said. So she really encouraged me to have my own opinion and to be unapologetic about what I had to say and that it was worthy of being said. So if anything, I feel like they really prepared me in that, because now I feel like I'm so vocal because they taught me, like, you have a voice and use it, and to not shy away from your voice that you have. And then again, like I said, they did share their own stories with me, which I see their stories repeating in my own graduate school experience. So that was helpful for me.
So they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. I'm just asking the question, playing devil's advocate here. Okay, so in most cases, when people of color attend PWIs in grad school, they are either the only one who looks like them in the classroom or one of few. Is this true for you? And if so, how do you navigate this space?
So I took 3 classes this semester. I'm not sure why, but I did. I took 3 classes this semester. That's not recommended for anyone out there in literature. But I took 3 classes this semester. And so 2 of those classes, I did have another Black woman in there with me. She's a year ahead of me in the program. But in my very basic class that I'm taking, the intro class kind of to the program, I am the only person in the room. And I think this is a place where I realize about the Black woman, what I said earlier, the Black woman being kind of like that monolith, like of Blackness for Black women. That is where I became aware of that thing. Because there were times, like in August, when school was starting, people would say things and they would say, well, Rae'Jean, what do you guys feel about that? And the first time I let it slide, the second time I kind of showed, but the third time I was like, first of all, I'm not sure who you guys is, but for me, this is my personal opinion. And I had to kind of check that and say, like, I'm not going to sit here, and allow you to even try to categorize us as one in a room where there are so many different white voices that you guys are acknowledging. So we're not going to do that in this space. So I've had to, I guess, wrestle with the kind of Black woman that I wanted to be in the white space, because it's very, I guess, easy, or not even easy, but it's hard even to kind of sit there and to allow things to be said that are very problematic. When people are theorizing Black life, but you're living Black life, it becomes very hard to be in that space. And so I just decided for my mental health, what was best for me was to speak up about things. Like, I'm someone who, if I don't speak out about it, it eats me away. So for me, it was better for me to say, hey, that's not cool. We can't talk about things in that manner. So that's kind of how I've navigated that space.
That's good. And what was the responses to that type of,
it was, I didn't mean it like that. I just wanted another perspective.
Okay, got it. Gotcha. I was just curious, because that's happened to me before. So what advice would you give someone who is either considering attending HBCU or PWI? Like, what do you think they should consider?
Well, I would say going to an HBCU, I would say be open, because I went to an all-Black school, so I was like, I know Black people. I don't want to do that. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, there's so many of us, like, we pretty dope. So I would say have an open mind about an HBCU and go there with the expectation to find community, to lay your foundation, to really absorb all you can. Don't go in there with the mindset of I know it all about Black people and Blackness, and don't do that, because then you'll miss all the richness that HBCU can provide you with. And I would say, as far as a PWI, my only piece of advice would be to be you, because you're going to be challenged in some really major ways, with everything from academics to personal to relationship decisions, spiritual decisions. People are going to challenge every part of your being. So you have to be firm and say, no, I stand on this, I wear this. You have to be very firm in saying, no, this is who I am. It's who I'm going to continue to be. If you call me extra, if you call me this, I don't care. This is who I am, and that's who I'm going to continue to be. So I would say, if you have a firm foundation in who you and wanting to stick with that, then everything else will follow. Like all the studying and that'll come. But I think being true to yourself and like being firm in yourself is the biggest thing that's gonna help you remain rooted.
That's good. And so you mentioned being firm in who you are in yourself. And what do you think that is? Because a lot of times when you leave an HBCU, when you leave undergrad, is this awareness and you're cultivating this identity of who you believe you are, and then you enter into another academic space, not just a PWI, but another level of academia. You learn like, well, I don't think I'm that anymore. So how did you stay rooted? Like, what were you rooted in? Honestly,
well, God, like, like, to be very frank, I mean, of course, like we're always evolving as people. So ideas about novelists or authors or like things may change, but I guess like my core morals, my core values, like we can have discussions about certain things, but this is still what I believe in. I'm still firm in this. So if I'm in class and people are being very judgmental or just being very false about information about portraying, for instance, the Black church, I'm saying, no, that's not what that is. For instance, we don't pay tithes for salvation. Like someone made the comment that tithing was paying for salvation. No. The lights have to stay on at the church. You have to have people on in the church. Like, you have to be able to feed people. Like, so, and I had to make that statement because I was firm in knowing, and people challenged that because being in the Midwest is not the South.
This ain't the Bible Belt. That's not the Bible Belt.
And everyone's like, oh yeah, everyone's like, oh, like Jesus, I guess it's fine. But North people are kind of very just like, which I don't force that on anyone, but there are certain things that they are false, that you're perpetrating like these ideas. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, period. So I think being firm and like your absolutes. And those are my absolutes are certain things.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. So, Rae'Jean, tell us where they can find you. Like if they want to follow you, like where can people find you?
You can follow me at Instagram at Rae_Spears or on Facebook at Rae'Jean Spears. That's all I have.
Fiery stuff. I'm just gonna let you know that she be.
Thank you.
It's fire. It's firecrackers. I'm like,
a little controversial sometimes, but
if you're not controversial, sometimes you just don't have a voice. But that's another segment. So thank you so much for joining us. I want you to hold on while I end this call.